and welcome to Think Drinks. On today's show, we'll be talking about the national drink of Bermuda, which is called the Dark and Stormy. And before we get into that, the Dark and Stormy is actually not the official drink of Bermuda. I know everybody that you talk to says it is, but if you actually talk to the locals of Bermuda, the official drink of Bermuda is the rum swizzle. Of course, there is no exact recipe for that, but getting back to the topic at hand, the reason why the Dark and Stormy is the official drink of Bermuda is totally in part to the company called Gosling's. In the early 1800s, William Gosling was selling liquor in London, but the New World beckoned. So in 1806, his son James, on a chartered ship named the Mercury, set out for America with 10,000 pounds sterling worth of wines and spirits. To put this in context, the UK Office for National Statistics calculate that 10,000 pounds in the year 1800 would be the equivalent of 780,000 pounds in the year 2017. Now that's a lot of booze. The voyage of the Mercury, however, did not go exactly to plan, and to the lasting benefit of Bermuda's imbibing public, the ship never arrived in America. Instead, in interesting contrast to the arrival of Bermuda's first English settlers, the Mercury was becalmed in the Atlantic for so long, 91 days in fact, that the ship's charter expired and the beleaguered crew had to put into Bermuda. While the expected voyage time for England to America in the early 1800s varied a lot, Columbus took only 5 weeks to get across the Atlantic in 1492, and the Mayflower got to Plymouth Rock in just 66 days. By any measure, the Mercury had spent a long time at sea, and they were still 700 miles short of their destination. Still, there's a wonderful story to the descendants of the passengers of a becalmed ship one day producing a world-famous drink called the Dark and Stormy. When James eventually arrived in Bermuda, he liked it so much he decided to stay and set up shop on King's Parade in St. George's. In 1824, the Gosling shop was relocated to Front Street in Hamilton, where they still have a store to this day. And in 1860, the Goslings imported their first barrels filled with rum to distillate. Gradually, they refined their blending process and ultimately produced one of the world's best and most distinctive dark rums, Gosling's Black Seal. Up until 1914, consumers of Gosling's rum would refill used bottles straight from the barrel. However, during the First World War, the Goslings began distributing their rum in champagne bottles collected at the Royal Navy Officers' Mess. These bottles were sealed with a particular black wax, which would eventually give the rum its distinctive name. Now, according to various sources, this same group of naval officers and their sailors either produced homemade ginger beer, or the Royal Naval Officers Club ran a ginger beer factory in the dockyard. Exactly how rum and ginger beer met in the glass is about as clear as the drink itself, but it seems ginger beer was popular with the Navy, possibly because it was good at easing seasickness and rum was ubiquitous at the time. Whether the combination was devised by a forerunning mixologist or a drunken sailor spilling his rum into his mate's ginger beer, the Navy had nevertheless conspired to produce one of the world's great elixirs. The discovery of a beverage that both lifted the spirits and soothed the stomach was surely cause for great celebration. Somewhere amongst these celebrations, the drink earned its rather ominous moniker, with a sailor allegedly quipped his drink was the color of a cloud only a fool or a dead man would sail under, and that is how legends are born. Then, between the end of World War I and 1991, the Goslings and the Dark and Stormy became synonymous and inseparable, and not just in Bermuda. As the company slowly built its rum export business, the cocktail went with it to the United States and beyond. With the success comes imitation, and other rums started to suggest mixing their rum with a ginger beer to produce a drink of the same name. So it was in 1991, Gosling Brothers Limited filed and won 2 trademarks on the recipe. Suffice to say, this was no easy trademark to acquire, Of the thousands of cocktail recipes on bar menus around the world, only 3 others are similarly protected: the hand grenade, the painkiller, and the Sazerac. Since earning the trademark, the company has defeated it on several occasions, taking action against other rum makers and even a rum blogger. Yes, there is such a thing. And what is this recipe that is so vigorously guarded? Well, take a tall glass and fill it with ice. Add 4 to 5 ounces of ginger beer. Top it with a dark rum. In this case, I'm using Cayman Reef West Indies Double Black Rum, which in my opinion, Goslings, is actually a tastier black rum than the Goslings version. It costs only a little bit more, not much more, but the taste is far superior. So that's what we'll be using. And of course, it's optional to garnish it with a lime wedge, but like I've said before, it's all about the presentation. That's pretty. And that's it. A simple recipe born from the myths of history to become a legendary tale that any sailor or Bermudan would be proud to tell. But how does this dark and stormy sea actually taste? Well, let's find out. That is delicious. It's got a bold, dark, smoky kind of flavor to it. Kind of oaky. And then you get the ginger pulling through in the back note. That is delicious. Oh yeah. So, once again, thank you for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informational as well as maybe a little educational. And until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for when my future videos drop. So until then, think drinks. Bye.